Saurabh, you've also in a similar industry, right? On the healthcare tech side. What is your experience and what is your, view on the sector and your journey?
So I think healthcare is a very important aspect of everyone who is sitting here, right? You can choose not to go to IIT, you can choose not to get married, but you can choose not to see a doctor, because truth is, at some point of time we will get sick, or our loved ones will get sick, and we would need help. And having said that, having access to a doctor or a trusted or a qualified doctor is sort of not a luxury. It's something which is a necessity. And in a country like ours, where the doctor-patient ratio is like 1:1700, and the ratio is more skewed if you go outside metros like Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, you'll find not it's not just about the quality of the doctor, it's about the doctor itself is not present. So in a country where you have such a skewed sort of demand-supply gap of healthcare professionals, technology can play a very big role in sort
So
of
what's the
connecting.
problem your business solves?
Pardon?
What's the problem your business solves?
So we solve, so for doctors, we multiply their presence. So a doctor who is just sitting at one place and seeing 5 patients, now he's able to see a lot more patients. On the consumer side, we don't go for every issue. We don't like to visit to a doctor. So there's a lot of inertia in sort of taking our time, getting stuck in traffic jam, waiting at doctor's clinic, and that leads to once we ignore our health, that leads to a lot of bigger problem down the chain, and that puts a lot of strain on the healthcare system as such. So our platform allows users to be able to communicate with doctors from the comfort of their home. So you are able to, if you're able to sort of get answers to your health queries resolved right from the mobile phone.
Navneet, you're in the hyper-local side, the new buzzword in the market, right? Very actively getting funded, and the new way of delivery of grocery. Share some of your anecdotes in business, as you're growing it, given that this has been going on for years in a very different way. The Thelawalas or the dial into your kirana shop, and now you guys are trying to change all that into make it technology savvy.
Yeah, so I think hyperlocal grocery delivery or hyperlocal delivery businesses are disrupting the local delivery systems. So for example, my wife used to buy groceries from a local grocer who's right next door. So he used to call up, आधा kilo suji, 1 kilo chawal, and all those things. And then there would be a chotu who would come and sort of deliver these items. On some days, the chotu would not come because he's just sick, or he's sort of sitting somewhere and sort of having a sutta. Was not very reliable. Also, the catalog that these guys, the inventory that these guys carry, which is a smaller sort of mom and pop kirana store, is very limited. So as a customer who's buying on the phone from my local grocer, I know exactly what I'm buying, and I have the comfort that, okay, if I get something at the doorstep, I can sort of return it to the local grocer saying that, okay, ye theek nahi lag raha, expiry date ke paas hai, wapas bhej do. It's convenient for that guy to do it. Now in the hyperlocal space where we do, I'll just tell you one of the examples. So one of the customers basically bought 5 packets of milk from us on a certain day. 5 days later, we get a call from this guy saying कि I bought these 5 packets from you, दूध फट गया है, ये ऐसा कैसे है, return करो. Now, what do you say to the customer? 5 days later, मतलब ठीक है, 5 दिन हो गए यार, फ्रिज में रखो, 5 दिन में boil करो, things like that. But so getting to that level of comfort that the customer has with his local grocer is a challenge for any hyperlocal grocery delivery service or any hyperlocal delivery person. So you need to build that trust. That's where we as a PepperTap, we say that, okay, we're going to guarantee the quality and freshness of products. It's not going to happen on day one. I mean, we can go and sort of give some guidelines to the local grocer or the local fresh produce wala. But as we sort of start becoming more and more important sort of percentage of their revenue or percentage of their business, at that time when I go back and say that, okay, now you need to change this process, you need to sort of have a better fridge, or you need to have a dedicated billing counter for us so that we can deliver quickly. At that time, these guys are going to listen. But the customer is not really patient, right? Customer needs the best service today. So how do you sort of create a balance between what service you can provide and what sort of returns or the losses that you can absorb in the short term till the time when you can actually get to a certain stage where it's optimized. The other side of this is from the seller's side. Right now, the sellers, I mean, you have millions and millions of mom and pop kirana stores or these other retail formats. So these guys have walk-in customers come in pick up this items from shelves, get a billing done, and go back. But now, as the world is going mobile and digital and online, a lot of these customers will start buying on these different online platforms, whether it is on PepperTap or any other competitive platform. That customer is not going to go into the store. That customer is not walking in as a customer. Now, as a marketplace, as a hyperlocal grocery marketplace, what we enable these guys to do is get access to that customer base which is going online. Now, if we were an inventory-led model wherein we had our own warehouse, I would have no incentive to let any part of my sales go to a local kirana wala. But being a marketplace which is basically connected to the local sellers, what we are able to do is basically increase the catchment size of that seller. We're also able to connect him to more customers, any customer who's not coming to him. So what we end up giving to the seller is basically a big multiple of his current revenue as incremental revenue. So just to give you an example, some of the stores that tied up with us way back in January, they were doing about 200, 250 billings a day. Right now, these guys are doing about 500, 550 billings a day, only through PepperTap. So that's the kind of sort of scale that we've been able to bring for the grocer. Now, what that ends up helping the grocer with is more leverage with the distributor. So we're also trying to disrupt that distribution channel. In the long run, what we would like to do is basically start acting as a front for these stores, saying that, look, HUL or these other PNGs, we are selling these 10,000 SKUs for you every day. These are my stocking points. These are my stores, which are my partner stores. Why don't you get the prices down by another 0.5% or 1%? And we could probably help both the customer and the store in the long run to be able to bring the prices down. It's not going to happen in the short term. It has to happen as we build the scale. And that's building fast. Just to give you an example, again, I mean, the kind of GMV that we did in May, we did that whole GMV of $100,000 just last Sunday. So the kind of traction that we're getting with customers, the kind of sort of number of orders we're getting, it seems that the customers are actually loving it. The convenience of sort of sitting at home, getting the same items delivered to your doorstep. So it's not going to be easy, I think, but we'll have to sort of keep plowing at it to get to the long-term goal that we have.
You know, as an entrepreneur, you work hard, you slog out for 3 years, and then you say, okay, I'm going to make money one day. Now, one notices that in the startup world, business models exist, which are based on new ideas or disruptive ideas, but revenue models often become a challenge, which often beats the basic tenet of entrepreneurship is to make money, right? So what is your perspective on this? I mean, sorry, would you like to take a jab at this? I mean, is there a revenue model in most cases, or it's a valuation play all the way?
I can speak for our business, right? So there's a revenue model definitely. So but the question is, do you want to switch on the revenue model like on day one, or do you want to switch on day 1,000, right? So I'll give an example since
So day 1,000 is 3 years, by the way.
Yeah. So there are like many businesses, right? For example, PayPal is a classic example. They started to charge the transaction fee like after 5 years into the business or even more. So the idea is that once you can achieve scale, so fundamentally there is a business model in place. It's the time that you will want to like switch on the tap. So consider Facebook as well. There was no revenue model for the first like 5-6 years, but then once this money started flowing, it's just like crazy, right? So there are big businesses in the past who have hold on to their sort of turning the knob on the revenue model, and they waited like 3 years. I think it's a very short time. I mean, it's not something which is in the kind of the stage that we are. 3 years is not a long time.
So, Rahul, you're a gambler.
I am. I also
Right.
don't spend millions of
So,
dollars.
what made you gamble in this business? I mean, given your fact that where's your revenue model?
Well, the interesting thing
Unless you're going to win a
is...
game or two.
No, the interesting thing is that in the gambling business, you make money day one. Because your customer, the opposing player, has to put money on the table to play.
Right.
And you take a cut If he wins, you still take a cut. If he loses, you still take a cut.
Yeah, but okay, in a more serious way, because I mean, gambling is banned in India, as we all know.
Yeah, so
right?
here's
And
the other thing.
Therefore, how do you make money in your business?
No, so let me explain one more thing, guys. This is what I found very interesting. I was sitting in San Francisco after my last failed business, wondering what to do, and I was looking at just things online, and I realized India has a law. The law says you can play skill games for real money. This is actually a very, very interesting law because you can actually now play games for real money. I found this out sitting over there, and I started calling people up here asking about it, and no one knows. No one knew about this law, minus the 1 or 2 companies that we compete with now. And so what I'm trying to tell you is is research your market, right? Like get out there, explore your idea, find arbitrage, find reasons to win. And that was my calling. When I found that, I talked to my co-founder now, and we got right into it. We'll build games, we'll build great games that are skill games that can be played for real money, and we'll make money day one. So to your point, by the way, so there are 3 types of businesses, right? Businesses that can make money day one, or just regular businesses. I call them proper businesses in my mind, because that's what business school teaches you, right? You have to have operations and expenses and revenue. And then the second business is just value-driven business, right? Valuation. Your idea is like, I'm going to be $1 billion one day. Let's keep pouring money into it. And then finally, there's a third business, which is the adventure business. The adventure business is just do whatever it takes and survive every day to the next day, right? And there are people who live like that. Those people, I'll tell you what those people are doing. They're actually hypnotized into their idea, thinking that there will be success someday, but they're just circling their wheels. And we can talk about examples later. The 2 types you talked about, which is valuation and what I call then, in my mind, just regular businesses, right? I run a regular business. We're not going after $1 billion valuations. Very important for me, after all the failures I've seen, to have enough revenue to pay for my people, my team, and grow, right? So we're constantly evolving and innovating for that, and not just, I would say, spending money to acquire users. So valuation, 3 years is a good business to be in. If your strategy is 3 years, I'll be valued at $1 billion. But now do your research and try to find out how many companies make it there.
Right.
And that has its own success rate.
So, but Ravi, your feeling on this whole concept of Indianization, right? We see a lot of people come back with ideas, if I may say, for lack of a better word, copycat from the US and plonk them in the Indian context. How important do you think is Indianization of the idea, right, to really make it work? I've often seen companies, realize this much late in life, by which time much of the money is blown away.
I think there are certain category of investors who feel safe in the also ran business. So if this has worked in America, it'll work here. Let's put money behind this business. So there is a bit of copycat happening because there are a certain set of investors who feel their money is safe. But on the other hand, you take my business, for example, healthcare in America and healthcare in India is like North Pole and South Pole. We are only 15% insured country. North America is 95% health insured country. So Indianization is very important because the scale is here, access to town B, town C, where there is a need, compelling need. So if you Indianize it and localize it, I think there is a little risk. You need more innovation, but there is more scalability.
So do you advocate to the startup world that, given the fact that a lot of people are young, very often from technology background, right? The experience which somebody has in an industry to really understand how it operates in the country is therefore paramount. So are you seeing a lot of change where, we keep hearing recently Flipkart, XYZ hires senior guys from the industry. So you're seeing this changing, or you're seeing as you scale up the imperative to actually get experience of really what happens in India?
Yeah. So I'm called that in the internet-based businesses, I'm a very atypical founder of Credit Health, that at my age, I'm doing this. But I'm seeing that trend that as young technology, innovation-based companies are growing up, they are getting senior talent in, either as senior officers of the company or as senior board members. So clearly you need You need a balance of both. You need the technology, you need the innovation, you need the fire in the belly, but as you grow up, you need some maturity and you need some experience. Otherwise, you see, if that doesn't happen properly, then we all laugh on a bunch of engineers who do that.
So, Saurabh, you have Ratan Tata as one of your investors, right? Probably as experienced as can get, right? Share your rationale for that investment by him, and how do you benefit, if at all? Is it only a name for profile's sake, or is it more than that?
No, I mean, I don't think you would, I would call it as, just name for profile's sake. I think when I first met Mr. Tata, it was about, what we are trying to do, what we have done so far, and what's the vision. So do we want to be, there's fundamental problems in India's healthcare system that I feel that, we need to fix. And this is the approach that we are adopting. So the meetings were all about, where we will be, let's say, 1 year, 2 years down the line. And it was sort of, this struck a chord. It's just like any other meeting. You will go and, will pitch your business. And you need to pick the right investor who believes in the vision. So if you don't believe in the vision, then you wouldn't go with the guy, right? Even if you want to sort of, take his money. So with Mr. Tata specifically, when we talked, it was, yes, this is something that needs to be fixed, and Liberate can sort of help plug the gap.
So given the fact that, money probably is not the driver for him, I assume not, is he, in a sense, iconic and representative that the world is changing very fast, and somebody has experienced and, I would say, evolved as him, is also saying, listen guys, focus on the startup world, see what's going on, there's disruption and activity happening over there, and you may find your next crown jewel or business strategy over there. Is that something you see in those discussions, sir?
No, so it's not about that, this is the next business that I want to sort of put money because purely from a return perspective.
Right.
So
Which I think is what I'm saying too.
yeah, so it's not like that.
Right.
It's about, this is my sort of based on my personal experience with him, is he truly believes that we can make a fundamental change as to how healthcare will be delivered in India. And particularly with sort of his sort of mentorship and his sort of experience in building large businesses in India, I as a founder could gain a lot by, talking to him, by, exchanging ideas, by taking his support as far as even, ground level execution is concerned as well.
Right.